The Starks have the blood of the first men in their veins. Older than castles, older than crowns, they are the blood of Bran the Builder, who raised the wall with giants and the children of the forest. For thousands of years, they have ruled the north. Their word, colder than winter. Their loyalty, stronger than steel. Their house words, winter is coming, are not a boast, but a warning carved into the marrow of their bones. Yet even the Starks, with all their history, carried secrets that the rest of Westeros could scarcely imagine. They prayed beneath the heart trees. They kept faith with the old gods. And some whispered that their blood carried more than memory. It carried power. So I ask you, what if that power had taken shape not only as wolves and walls, but as something far greater? What if the Starks were not only kings in the north, but dragon riders? Not of fire and flame like Valyria, but of frost and shadow, creatures conjured by the children of the forest to undo their ancient mistake. What if the Starks were dragon riders? Let's take a look. It's the year 3500 before conquest. The land is dark. The sun has not risen for months. The cold has grown so bitter that the rivers no longer move, and the forests of the north crack and groan like dying men. This is the age men call the Long Night, though for those who lived through it, the word long was far too small. It was a curse made flesh, a season that did not end, a terror that made the bravest lords weep and the strongest warriors despair. For in that darkness came the others. They were not men, not in the way you or I understand men. They were tall, elegant, cruel. Their eyes glowed pale blue. Their voices were the sound of shattering ice, and every step they took brought death. Their swords could slice through steel like parchment, and every corpse they slew rose again. Bound to their will, the living world was on the edge of extinction. The first men fought bravely. They gathered behind walls of stone and fire, but stone cracked in the cold, and fire guttered beneath the endless snows. Giants fought with them, wielding tree trunks as clubs, but even the giants fell. The children of the forest, small and secretive, wove their magic, hurling fire of obsidian and calling storms from the skies. Still, it was not enough. And so the children made a choice that history would curse forever. In their desperation, the children sought a weapon to balance the others. In their sacred caves, before heart trees older than time, they bound one of the first men with dragon glass and song. They poured into him all the cold of the world, all the bitterness of ice. They hoped to forge a champion, a guardian who would turn against the darkness. Instead, they made the first White Walker. He turned on them, on the first men, on everything alive. What they had made as a sword became a plague, and the long night deepened. Only through the unity of men, giants, and children together was the Night's King broken, and the others driven back into the lands of always winter. Together, they built the wall, a barrier of stone, ice and spellwork so strong that it stood even 10,000 years later. The wall was to be the wound that never healed, the scar to remind the world of the children's folly. But the Greenseers, the deepest dreamers among the children, swore a second oath: they would not fail the world again. If the others ever rose, if the long night returned, they would not gamble blindly with death. This time, they would forge a weapon of balance. Ice not as a curse, but as a gift. And that is where the Starks enter our tale. The Starks were kings in the north, long before the first Andals sailed across the narrow sea. Their line stretched back into legend to Bran the Builder, who raised the wall itself with the help of giants and the children. Some said Stark blood carried the echo of Greenseer dreams, that when they prayed in their gods' woods, the old gods listened more closely. Generations after the long night, when memory had become myth, and most men dismissed the tales as fables, the children returned. They came to Winterfell in secret, slipping from the forests on nights when the moon was gone. There they sought out King Brandar Stark, a man remembered in some songs as Brandar the Cold-Blooded. He was not cruel, but he was hard, as all Stark kings had to be. In the Godswood of Winterfell, beneath the bleeding face of the Heart Tree, they told him their story. They confessed their sin in making the first White Walker, and they spoke of their vow to undo that mistake. Then they offered Brandar a choice. "Your line is old," they said. Your blood is tied to the first men. The old gods have chosen you. Deep in the farthest north, in caverns beneath mountains of ice, there lie remnants of an age before men. Eggs cold as the grave, yet alive with the breath of winter. They wait for one strong enough to wake them. Come with us, and we will show you. At first, Brandar refused. The Starks did not chase dreams of conquest. They ruled their land, they kept the peace, and they endured. That was enough, but the children pressed harder. They whispered of omens seen in the weirwood sap, of shadows in the frozen north that stirred again, of a second long night that would one day fall. And so Brandar relented. The journey north took weeks. They crossed the frozen rivers, the Frostfang Mountains, and the haunted forest beyond. They walked where no man had walked in 1,000 years. At last, they came to a cavern cut into a glacier, its mouth glowing faintly blue. Inside lay the egg. It was massive, larger than any egg Brandar had seen, though no hen could have laid it. Its surface was crystalline, like frozen glass, veined with faint streams of white. It pulsed faintly, as though it had a heartbeat. The children taught him the words. He cut his palm with a dagger of dragon glass, let the blood drip onto the egg, and spoke the old songs in a tongue that rasped like wind through dead branches. The cavern shook. Frost spread across the walls. Then the egg cracked. From within crawled a creature both magnificent and terrible. Its wings unfurled with the sound of splintering ice. Its scales shimmered like moonlight on snow. Its eyes glowed pale blue, and when it roared, the air turned brittle. Brandar Stark did not flinch. He stepped forward, placed his hand upon its muzzle, and felt the cold pierce his skin. In that moment, a bond was forged, not of whips and chains, as the Valyrians used, but of pact and blood. Brandar had become the first rider of an ice dragon. The north changed overnight. At first, only Winterfell knew. The dragon roosted in caverns beneath the castle, its cold breath seeping into the stones. But soon, more eggs were revealed. The children guided Brandar to other caverns, where other eggs slumbered. The Umbers sent their strongest sons. Some froze where they stood, their bodies shattering like glass. But one survived, and his dragon rose with a roar. The Karstarks sent a daughter, and she returned astride a pale beast that vanished into blizzards. The Manderleys, though southerners by northern reckoning, were not denied. They too gained a dragon. Within a generation, a dozen ice dragons soared above the north. They perched on cliffs, slept in glacial caves, and patrolled the skies. The bannermen who rode them became legends, their houses tied forever to House Stark. Winterfell was no longer just a fortress. It became the first dragon pit of the north. Word spread south slowly at first. A merchant claimed to have seen shadows over the neck. A knight swore his men froze to death when a pale beast flew overhead. The maesters scoffed, calling the tale superstition. Dragons belonged to Valyria, they said. But when villages were found encased in frost, their people locked in ice like statues, the whispers grew louder. The Reach worried how their green fields would fare if such creatures descended. The Stormlands muttered that even their castles would not withstand such cold. The Dornish, who prided themselves on resisting fire, now feared winter itself. And on Dragonstone, Aegon Targaryen listened. Look at you. You stayed the entire video. Thank you for that. Now can I ask you to like, share, and subscribe. Stand ready for part 2, my friend. It's coming very soon, accompanied by a blizzard of fire.